Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I hope and pray you're all well and you are ready to learn and that you can see my screen and hear my voice.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, we can, Mrs. Shakil. We can see your screen and hear you as well.
Thank you very much, ACL. Alhamdulillah. So you can see my screen, you can hear me. So start writing these notes down. I hope if you've just joined us, please make sure that you're labeled correctly. Check your student ID and please check your room number. Make sure you're displayed properly. Please ensure you have a pen and paper in front of you and start jotting down all the notes. And I would strongly advise that you do make sure that you learn these by heart or try to read them at least 3 times every day this week. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah Wasif, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, how are you Wasif?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah, thank you for asking. Would you be kind enough to read out the quote that you can see on the screen by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III, Rahmatullah, and this is reported at Majlis Shura, 1965. So would you be able to read that for me?
Okay. The Holy Quran is our life, our soul, our spirit, and indeed our everything. Every Ahmadi, be they a child, young or old, be they a man or woman, should learn the Holy Quran.
That was very clear. I'm very impressed. Okay, can I ask you to read point number 1?
The top of the tongue comes out of the mouth slightly, softly touching the upper teeth. Air should escape.
As in thin. Yeah. So now, when I was little, I learnt this letter here, which is a tha, as a sa, as the letter S, but it's not. So we're learning that this is a letter tha, the 3-dotted one. Tha, as in thin. Thin. Okay, so that's a good idea. Take a snapshot and write notes. Thin, tha. And number 2, please, Beta.
Pronounced from the middle of the throat, air escapes slightly. It is a sharp release of air, one of the 6 letters of the throat.
Yes. So here we can see the big ha, ha. And we know that there's a small ha as well, okay, which kind of looks like, let me get a pen. So let's see if this naughty pen works today. Oh, yes, it is. Small ha, right? They come in different shapes, the small ha's. At the end of the word, they're different. But anyway, we'll go into detail later about that. This is the big ha, and this ha is just ha, and this is ha. Like when you blow into a balloon or when you blow a whistle, ha. You release some air. So it's a bit sharper. Okay, well done. And would you like to read the 3rd one as well? I'm just doing so well.
The tip of the tongue comes out of the mouth slightly, but with vibration. It presses against the edge of the upper front teeth. Slight escape of air. Z, as in this, not a z sound.
Okay, so here it is. Val. Val, as in ذلك الكتاب. The. Okay. So it's the TH sound, yeah, as in this. And not the Z sound. So when I was younger, I used to say zalikal kitab, which is a lot of vibration, zalikal, and my teeth are aligned together. Okay, my upper teeth and lower teeth, z, and that's producing a big vibration. But when I poke my tongue out slightly between my teeth, the zalikal kitab. Okay, and I'm going to ask another student to join me. Wasif, well done. That was very clear. I was very impressed with you. Okay, I'll ask Anaya to join me. Assalamu alaikum, Anaya.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you, beta?
Good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm good. Jazakallah for asking me. Can I, alhamdulillah, and thank you for asking, can I ask you to read 4 and 5?
Okay.
Please.
Similar to an S sound, but the top of the tongue is raised to the roof of the mouth, which is narrowed, producing a
thick and heavy.
Thick and heavy sound, tafkhim. Unique to Arabic. This sound is produced by touching the base of the motors with the
Edge of the tongue.
edge of the tongue, left, right, or both sides. Also takfim.
Okay, so we're talking about the letter. Let's go to number 4. We're talking about the letter sword. Sword. And in English, we could say sword is like, how can I say, you know, the sword, yeah? Or a saw, right?
Yes.
You know, let's see if I can make that sword, yeah? Yeah? So the saw, it'll be like that, saw, you know, right? And the dod would be like the door, you know? Yeah? So that's how we
Yes.
would pronounce it. So this is how I remember to learn these letters. I would kind of relate them to something that, you know, like a lovely MCL has written here, details, you know, like we've got the tha, as in thin, ha, bit sharp, air releases, like we blow into a balloon or into a whistle. Then we've got the val, as in ذلك الكتاب, that, yeah. And that is like the word to this. And then we've got saw, you know, sword, yeah, as in the saw, seesaw, you know, when we go to the park, we see the seesaw, we sit on the seesaw, you know that,
Yes.
you know, yeah. So I'm trying to draw with my naughty pen. So, you know, we can relate it to words, yeah. And the door, there's a door, yeah. So this is very important because these two letters are also tafkhim, they're thick, tafkhim meaning thick, yeah. So it'll be great if you guys make a note of these, and very well done for joining us today and, you know, arriving on time. All of you that guys, you know, that came on time today, well done. Make sure you do make a note of these, take a snapshot, read them at home 3 times every day, maybe before you go to bed. Make sure you also, your QRS is very important, send that to your teacher. QRS is your Quran reading stages. And well done to Anaya, who joined me earlier and read, you know, all the points out very clearly. So remember, tha, ha, push some air up, dhal, as in TH, sword as in saw, and dod as in door, okay? So remember when you pronounce them, to pronounce them correctly. Practice them at home, and especially when you're doing your QRS, reading out in the evenings, the recitation, put that into practical. This is what you have to do. When you recite the Quran, you have to, you know, practice these sounds. If you read Quran how you read it before, and you read this, you read the phonics like you read, you know, you learnt them before. And if you don't, if you never, if some of you do know these letters, I know some of you do, but if you don't, then this is a perfect opportunity for you to practice them at home. Okay, so we're coming up to our time for Tilawat soon. So I would say to you, please ensure that you join classes on time, and well done to all those super students and terrific teachers that did join on time. Ensure that you prepare for classes by 5:40. Have your meal before then. Brush your teeth, wash your hands. You should be in full wudu. You know, perform ablution, join with a laptop or a computer, not a phone, because you won't be able to see the slides and you won't see the text. So make sure that you know, like I said before, do not eat and drink. Your head should be covered, and you should sit in a quiet place. Do not disturb everybody around you. When you unmute and there's a lot of noise, all the other students are being disturbed, and you can't hear the teacher can't hear you. So it's just a waste of time and energy. So make sure you sit in a quiet place and tell people, listen, I'm going into my class, you know, and I need you to all to be super quiet. So that's a good idea to let people know that you're having a class soon. The other thing is that you should have a notebook and pen at all times. You should be making notes. When you're alone, you know, sat alone, make sure that even you don't make noise and walk away and leave the computer anytime. You should be attentive to the class, reciting loud, clear voice, even if you're on mute. Practice, and that makes you perfect. Make sure that you I mean, you're allowed to have a sip of water if you like. You know, if you need, have a sip of water. But ensure that you arrive on time at 10 to 6. Okay, I'm going to pass you on. Jazakumullah.
Jazakumullah. Excellent. Now, before we begin, a quick reminder that everybody should have the correct ID displayed. There might be some Lajna students who are also teachers in another class. Please just check that you've got your student ID displayed, not your teacher ID. Could you please have a look at all the Lajna? Please check that your ID is correct. आप में से कोई होंगी जो teaching भी करती हैं, शायद आपने अपना teacher ID इस्तेमाल किया आज, please अपना student ID इस्तेमाल करें. Jazakumullah. Okay, and with that, we're going to call a student. Jazba from room 20, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. Now, I just want you to read, and everybody else, I want everybody else to listen, but they must read out loud with you. Are you ready, Bida?
Yes.
Okay, you may begin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون الذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم.
Jazakumullah, Jazba. Beautifully read. Are you going to come back and do the dua with us?
Yes.
Excellent. Jazakumullah. Thank you for that. Now, as you can hear, now she's trying to read with as many rules as possible. Okay. And for example, here she said khatamal. She didn't say kha. She said khatamallah because she knows the kha is one of the tafkhim letters. Okay. So remember, we've been doing thick and thin letters. Most are thin, nice wide open mouth. But the ones that are thick and we need to say them with a rounded mouth. Okay, don't release the sound. Okay, so that's just a quick reminder. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to go back to the surahs and we're going to make sure we learn them by heart. Number one. Number two, that we memorize them with the rules. Excellent. Right now, let's move ahead. Oops. And let's see if we can look at this week's rule actually. Now remember, when I say this week, really, I'm not teaching you rules for the entire week. What happens, you come to the class 4 days a week, mashallah, right? So you come 4 days. On the Monday, we revise what we did the week before, okay? On Tuesday and Wednesday, we learn a new rule, only 2 days. And then on Thursday, we do revision and a quiz. So really, it's only today and tomorrow that we're going to be trying to learn the new rule. We're introducing it and trying to understand it. And then what will happen is, inshallah, you will get time to practice it for 5 other days. Okay, so most of the time it's revision and trying to understand it and apply it. Remember, the best way to revise is to apply the rule, and that means reading. Okay, so let's see what we're doing now. 10 most mispronounced letters. The reason why mispronounced means we don't pronounce them correctly. Okay, and the reason sometimes we might not pronounce letters correctly is because we don't know how to pronounce them, but also because maybe they are similar in sound to other letters. Now, do remember, with the exception of these letters, they're both called Hamza actually. Hamza, let's call this Hamza Alif, and there's this one here, right? All other letters that are written differently, they all have their own sound, but some of them are similar. Similar doesn't mean the same. Same means identical, exactly the same. We're saying similar. Okay, so there still is a difference, and you've got to know what the difference is. Okay, so for example, we're going to learn that this one is fa, this one is seen, this one is ha, this one is ha. Yes, you know, from more of an air-filled one. This one, and this is more throaty. This one is val, this one is za, this one is sod, this one is seen, and so on. Okay, so inshallah, by the end of, not even this week, by the end of tomorrow, inshallah, you will know what the differences are between these letters so that you can read them correctly. Okay, so what we don't want is for you to read them the same. They are not the same. They are similar, but not the same. So let's take the first one now. Now for this one, I want you to put your hands in front of your mouth. You should feel some air coming out. Okay, now in English we say thin. When we say the word thin or three, let's look at this. That you've got these here, 3 dots, right? 3 dots. Okay, 3 dots. Th is for 3 and th is for thin. So we say tha. Now the way to do this is the tip of our tongue softly touches the edges of the top 2 teeth. Let's get our tongue up there between the top teeth and air coming up. Put your hand in front of your mouth and say tha. You should feel air coming up. Tha, tha, eth. It's not sa, it's not an S sound. Okay, it's a TH sound, like an English TH sound. Okay, tha, tha. Everybody should be saying these words. Everyone should be saying tha. So we make sure we get it correct. And what we will do is we will move on. Okay, have a look. And it's thin. It's a thin letter as well. So open your mouth wide. Okay. So maybe 1 or 2. I'll get some volunteers to read the definitions, but we need to get you into your breakout rooms so you can practice. I actually want you to read these words in your breakout rooms so everybody gets a chance. Okay. So I'm going to ask someone to help me. I'm going to ask someone to unmute.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum, Wasir Beta. Can you please help me read this definition, the tip here for tha?
Okay, the tip of the tongue should slightly come off the mouth and softly touches the upper teeth. Air should escape when pronounced correctly. Okay,
so I want you to copy me so that everybody can hear the difference between the tha with the 3 dots, this letter, and the seen, the hissing sound. Okay, so we're going to say them both together. Batha, bassa.
Batha, basha.
Sa with a seen.
Bassa.
Well done. Jazakumullah. Thank you for your help. Jazakumullah. And now we're going to go on to, let me get another volunteer. I've asked to unmute.
Assalamualaikum.
Hi, Islam, Zoya Beta. You're going to help me read this definition?
Okay.
Excellent. Right. So tell us about ha. This is called a sharp ha.
So it is pronounced from the middle of the throat. Air should escape slightly. It is also called letter of the throat.
Excellent. Remember we had huruf halaqi, and this is the throat letter. Now here we've got it as sakin and mushaddad. Maybe if we had it with a fatha, it'd be quite clear, like alhamdulillah, like in Surah Fatiha, alhamdulillah. Right now, Beta, can you help me with this one? Now, what it is, the sound has to come slightly higher than your regular H sound. This small ha is like a regular H, ha ha ha, right? The one that we normally have. That's actually nearer your chest. It's further down your throat. This one is further nearer your mouth in the middle of your throat, okay? So sometimes when you smile, that might help as well. And again, it's a thin letter, but we call it sharp ha because we hear a sharp ha sound. So can you say shuha, shuha?
Okay. Shuha, shuha.
Yes, I heard more ha coming out from the last one. Okay, next one, roh, roh.
Ruh, ruh.
Excellent, Jazakumullah. Thank you for your help. So that was ha, sharp ha. Now the reason we have to tell you about this and explain it is because in English, we don't have two versions of ha, do we? We just have the regular ha, this small one, just a regular ha, just air comes out and it's near our chest. We don't even think about it. This one we've got to think about a little bit. You've got to bring the sound, start the sound further up in the middle of your throat, nearer to your mouth, okay? Ha. And sometimes when you smile, ha, it comes out easily, ha, right? Not ha, but ha. Now, here's another TH sound. Now, did you know that in English we've got two TH sounds? But unlike Arabic, we don't, you see in Arabic, if the letter has a different sound, it's got a different, it looks different. But in English, that's not always the same. So it's actually more confusing in English. So actually Arabic is trying to make things easy for you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask somebody to unmute to tell me about the dhal, dhal. You say it with a bit of vibration now. Have you unmuted? I'm sending a message. Okay, let's ask somebody else to unmute. I don't know your name. I'm just asking somebody who doesn't have a name to unmute.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Who's that?
Hania.
Hania, beta, can you tell us about dhal?
The tip of the tongue slightly comes out of the mouth like that, but there is more vibration. The tongue is pressed against the edge of the upper front teeth. Slight air should escape, as in the word this.
So say the as in this.
The as in this.
Yeah, now we say the, there's a bit of vibration, okay? Now remember, it's not a Z sound like this second letter. So can you help me with these two, right? So we're going to say azzi, azzi.
Azzi, azzi.
Excellent. Kaza, kaza.
Gaza, gaza.
Excellent. Jazakumullah. Thank you for your help. Jazakumullah. So, and again, it's also different from tha. Okay, with the three dots. This is a the sound. That's a th sound. And this is a z sound. This one here. This one, okay? So this is a dhal and this is a za, okay? Now, again, you're going to practice in your room, so you'll get plenty of time to practice, inshallah, okay? We're just whizzing through, just making sure that we understand the definitions. And now we've got sword. Now, sword, again, it's similar to seen, but it's a thick letter. Remember we did thick and thin? So I'm going to ask somebody to help me with this one. You've got your hand up. So, hi, Islam Humda. Can you give us a definition of sword?
This letter is the same articulation point as the letter sword.
Okay, just one second. Sorry, Beta. I didn't explain about articulation point is just the point in your mouth where you make the sound. Okay, so it's similar. It's in the same place as seen, but what does it say? But
the top of the tongue is raised to the roof of the mouth to make it a heavy and thick sounding letter.
Excellent, right? So your tongue raises up slightly, okay? Now and round your mouth. So help me with these two. So let's do sword and scene. Lisso, lissa.
Lisso, lissa.
Asso, assa.
Asso, assa.
Excellent, Jazakumullah. And what I do, Jazakumullah, when I get these new sounds like the sword, I do exaggerate it a little bit, the sound, okay? I do exaggerate it a little bit because when you then read it in the Quran, you've got to, it dilutes a little bit. So nothing wrong with exaggerating a little bit, making it stronger sounding when you're practicing words, okay? Now, this is a very special letter. Dad. Arabic is called Lughat al-Dad, the language of Dad, because Dad is a sound apparently that is only in the Arabic language. Okay, now the key to this is don't use the middle of your tongue. The key with Dad, you've got to use the edge of your tongue. Okay, so this is one of the most difficult articulation points because it's not obvious, but it's not going to be difficult now because we know it. We know that we're going to use the edge of our tongue, not the middle. It's a heavy, thick sounding letter, okay, with a thick sound. So you round your mouth again. And the way we articulate it, in other words, the way we make the sound in our mouth is when the edges or the edge, so you can either use the left side of your tongue, the right side, or both, okay? So when the edge of your tongue touches the upper molar teeth, right, make it touch up there. So this bit here is going to touch this bit of the tongue that's been highlighted. is going to touch these teeth up here. Okay, so let's try that. Let's try that and say Lord. Don't use the middle of your tongue. Don't actively use the middle, otherwise you end up with a dal sound. Lord. Lord. Okay, and if you use the side of your tongue, then it will mean that it will definitely make a different sound than a letter. You will use the middle of your tongue, like for example, a dal, for example. Here, dal, there's a dal there, right there in the second box, okay? Adda. Adda, I'm using the middle of my tongue, but also it's thin. Now here, what they've done is they've given us a few variations, a few letters that you might mistake it for. It depends what language you speak normally, right? If you normally speak Urdu, you might mistake it, you might be used to reading it like a Z sound, right? If you speak English, you might mistake it for a D sound, like the da, okay? So we're just trying to make you get used to saying it like an Arab, hopefully, inshallah. Let's get somebody to read the definition here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam Imran, tell us about Dod.
It is a heavy and thick sounding letter. The entire side of the tongue touches the base of the molars, either from right, left, or both sides. It is a mistake to pronounce it like the letter dal. Dal, exactly. So dal is different. It would be that, like this, that, and use the middle of the tongue. So let's have a go at these. Now this one, we'll do this one a bit later. Ro. So let's, if you say after me, let's do one at a time, okay? Nadda. Nadda.
Nadda.
Nadda.
Nadda.
Nadda.
Okay, because these were both thick letters, so that made an ot sound. Okay, let's try this one. Adda.
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 Excellent, beautifully done. Jazakumullah. Thank you for that. Okay, right. So we were meant to do 5 today. Oh, we've done them all. Alhamdulillah. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So these were the 5 letters, and Mrs. Shakil did them with you at the head of the lesson. Okay, so the great thing that if you come at 10 to 6, she goes through all of the lesson actually right at the beginning, as well as the etiquette of class. Okay, so you get a sneak preview, and you know what's coming up in the class, so you're ready for it. Okay, so it's very helpful for you to come in before 6 o'clock. Fa, ha, thou, saw, dod. Okay. So let's practice those words. So what's going to happen today? You can have a look at ta'awuz and see if you can recognize these letters and how to read them. And then what we're going to do, with your teachers, you can just do all these exercises, right? Lots of practice with these exercises. Okay, excellent. Let's go into our breakout rooms and come back. All of you, please, all 141 of you. I want you back in the main room for the dua.